Hey folks, how you doing? Your friend Phil here, project management trainer and coach. I'm hoping YouTube behaves itself this morning. So we're just going to take a few minutes to talk about this course. It's been a long time coming. I've been trying to make this announcement, but the streaming service has been acting up here and there. Let's hope it behaves itself. So welcome. How you doing today? How's your day going? Everything going good? Lots of you are ramping up to get certified. Get certified on the PMBOK Guide 6th edition. That's the purpose of this meeting, to talk a little bit about that. I'm extremely excited to be talking to you about this course. This course has been a long time coming. It's been quite a while that we've been trying to get this course in ship shape to help those folks who want to get certified based on this big bad book right here, this one. The sheer weight of the book is scary, but even scarier is the number of pages. It's got a lot of pages. You know the good news? This course is going to immerse you into it. It's going to immerse you in really gently. It's not going to just shove you in and ram a bunch of PowerPoint slides down your throat. No. It's going to be a lot easier than a lot of other courses will make it out to be for you. So you're going to have a lot of fun. You're going to meet colleagues. You're going to meet people from around the world. You're going to meet people who manage projects in different ways across different industries. But here's the deal, folks. You need to go to the website. That's right. You need to go to PMAnonymous.com. If you want to register for this course, you need to do it on PMAnonymous.com. Okay? PM Anonymous is where you want to go. Now, this is purposely for my folks, my friends in Europe, Middle East, and Asia. All right? Now, I know the sound quality might be off, but don't be deceived. This is as live as it gets. This is your buddy Phil right here live. So this is not a pre-recording. It is absolutely live. So if you have any questions, I'll be more than happy to take those questions. More than happy to answer your questions about the course. But before we round up for today, which is probably about 1 hour from now, I'm going to be walking you through a little bit of the PMBOK Guide 6th edition. All right, so I'm going to share my screen here, and you'll be able to see in a few minutes what this PMBOK Guide 6th edition is all about. So take a look at the screen here for a second. So where do you want to go? You want to go to PM Anonymous, PMAnonymous.com. That's where you want to register for this course. And when you get to PMAnonymous.com, it will break down the entire course. What's the course about? How much does it cost? I've told you it's $499.99. Did I say $49.99? No, $499.99. $499.99. Well, here's the deal, folks. A lot of other courses cost 3 or 4 times as much. Live, online, delivered by an instructor who knows this stuff inside out. So you're in absolutely good hands, and my advice to anyone who really wants to take the PMBOK Guide 6th edition course is to go to PMAnonymous.com, and you have to do it before 2/12/18. That's the 11th of February 2018. Anytime after that, the prices will increase. and climb towards the 1250 mark. So my advice to you is, if you know anyone who wants to get certified, tell them, hey, I came across a crazy deal. You know, it's one thing to get an online course, but it's another thing to get a live instructor. You know, these are two different things. Having a live instructor on a course can make a world of difference. You know, I remember when I was struggling all on my own trying to get certified. It was crazy. It was very, very difficult. Very difficult trying to do it on your own. But in a course like this, you'll be coming into the course. You'll have the assistance of your instructors, your support team helping you, guiding you, breaking down the PMBOK guide for you. All right. And that's exactly what I'm going to do. I'm going to start right now. I'm going to help you frame your understanding of this bad book right here. It's not a bad book. It's just a big bad book. That's what it is. It's huge. It's huge. Now, picking this up for the first time, a lot of people would be like, I don't even know where to start, Phil. Where do I even start from? You know, the easy way to immerse yourself is to break it down, like I'm about to break it down for you right now. Okay? How do you break it down? Chapters 1, 2, and 3 give you the base foundation. That's pretty much it. Chapters 1, 2, and 3 are the foundation. You don't want to get lost in the weeds. You know, you're going to come across stuff that you've not seen before. You're going to come across terms. And you'll be like, what on earth is this term? You know, a lot of people have managed projects in the real world. Unfortunately, the projects that they managed in the real world don't use all this terminology, EAC, BAC, TCPI, and goodness, don't let me go into the ACWPs and the BCWPs. No, don't let me go there. So let me break it down for you really easy. Take a look at the screen. I'm going to be sharing some slides with you again. And as I share these slides, I'm also going to be sharing with you my tricks to remembering these knowledge areas. These knowledge areas, my goodness. It's very hard for someone coming into this for the first time to really wrap their mind around knowledge areas. But I'm going to give you some tips and tricks just to help you remember the knowledge areas. And then from remembering the knowledge areas, you go to the next level, knowing the processes. So let's start looking at integration. As you can see behind me, integration is coming up. What is integration management all about? Integration management can be likened to a cake. That's right, a cake. I like the simple things, you know, I don't like the complicated things, trying to teach people this already difficult to understand book. So I like using simple things. All right. So integration, you can liken it to a cake. There are different ingredients. You got the eggs, the flour, the milk, the sugar. All of that stuff is great. But if it's not mixed together, you do not have a cake. You have a mess. And a lot of projects are a mess because whoever is managing the project didn't put the ingredients together in the right proportions. So the recipe is very important, and to get the recipe right, you need to make sure you get the mixes right. So integration is likened to a cake. Just think about a cake being baked. It needs the recipe and the ingredients to be integrated. And that's why I use that as an analogy for integration, the baking of a cake. So the first thing that happens here is authorization. Anytime you open up the PMBOK guide to a page to read, don't stress the small stuff just yet. You want to get the big picture. All right. So I'm giving you 40,000 foot view, big picture, giving you an example of what we do in the classroom. And you know, the classroom again is not going to be death by PowerPoint. It's going to be the kind of classroom where we can chat, where we can interact. You're going to be seeing me every now and again. You know, sometimes I will halt the presentation and voila, you can see me again. So it's going to be very interactive. Sometimes I'll ask a particular student to type in what they think about a particular process, or maybe typing what they think about the day, is going to be extremely relaxed. You see, there are a lot of classes that are so difficult, and I can't stand those classes. I want people to come to a class and have fun and go away taking their real world and being able to marry their real world with the PMBOK guide. Do you know that I wrote a book called The Time Machine Project? Take a look at that cover. Doesn't that look like fun? But you can take the very simple things and build the complicated processes around it. So this book, The Time Machine Project, I'm also going to be using this to train the class. It's going to be a blast, folks. So going back to our cake baking, we're talking about integration management. So keep looking here, folks. I'm going to show you another slide or another process and keep talking about these processes. So we've got develop project charter, all right, which is authorization for the project. No charter, no project. Someone called the project sponsor works with the project manager to put this together, okay? Then the next thing that happens after the project charter is the development of the project management plan. See, the plan puts everything together. It's integration. The next process is directing and managing the work of the project. Again, don't sweat the small stuff, folks. Don't sweat the small stuff, because there's going to be a lot of time for you to sweat the small stuff. Right now, you need to get the big picture, all right? So the big picture is what happens in integration, authorization, development of a plan, directing and managing the work, and then managing the project knowledge. Managing the project knowledge means you are generating knowledge, you are finding out new things, you're generating lessons learned. It needs to go into a lessons learned register and shared. It needs to be shared, folks. It doesn't need to be under your seat or in a cabinet. This stuff needs to be shared, all right? So we call that manage project knowledge. And after manage project knowledge and integration comes monitor and control project work. Again, this is where you are monitoring the work. You are creating reports to indicate what is really going on. You need to put together a report so stakeholders know what's going on. And that's what happens in monitor and control project work. The next thing is called perform integrated change control. So think about it. On every project, there are bound to be changes. But these changes can't just be allowed to happen at random. These changes need to be organized. That's why we call it integration. They all need to be funneled through the same place. So we call it integration. Perform integrated change control. That's what we call it. Final one in integration. This is called close project or phase. This is where you close out the project, or maybe just a phase in the project. It's called close project or phase. So folks, that's pretty much it for integration. But hey, when we get to the classroom, you can be absolutely rest assured that we will be going through a lot more detail for integration management. And that's just one out of the 10. 1 out of the 10, folks. Anyway, let's shift gears here. This is what PM Anonymous looks like. Sign up now for Sweet Steal for the PMBOK Guide 6th edition. I'm telling you, it's going to be a lot of fun, just like you see the folks in the picture having fun. It is going to be fun. It is going to be chilled. It is going to be easy. It is going to be relaxed. And people who come for that course, they are going to be put into the world of the PMI. They're going to be put in the world of the PMI. They're going to come away knowing the PMBOK Guide so well. They're going to be teaching this stuff. I'm telling you, it's going to happen. Because there's no way you go through a live online class that is not a death by PowerPoint. That's a conversation of people who know what they do and people who are passionate about knowing more. There's no way. It's going to happen. I see it happen all the time. Over the past few months, I've seen so many of my students get 5 above targets and so many above target overalls. It's ridiculous. So many. I've never seen so many. I'm like, man, I must be getting good. I must be getting better. Because I've been doing this since 2005 and I've never seen so many people get above targets. So it's a good sign. And that's why I say join this course, folks. This course, the real retail price of this course is in the range of $1,200, $1,500. So for $500, it's a crazy, crazy steal. Ridiculous steal. So what are you waiting for? Offer is going to close Sunday, 2/11/2018, 11:59 Pacific. That's when the last student is going to get this at a steal. Firms pay thousands for training like this. Thousands. So you might be wondering, okay, Phil, what else comes with this thing? Before I move into scope management, I'm just going to show you a little bit more of this. When does the class start? Well, the class is going to be starting on the 24th of February. That's right. We're talking about the next 2 weeks-ish. Because a lot of folks want to get certified and they can't get certified on the 5th because they've been studying the 6th. So we need to get them in shape. So this offer ends on Sunday. Once it's gone, that's it. That's it. It's gone. So I advise you, tell your friends, family, tell your cousin, whoever you know that needs to get certified, tell them, folks, there's a crazy deal in town. So anyway, I go into a lot of detail on this page. If you want to know more, just visit PM Anonymous. That is where you want to be, pmanonymous.com. And just scroll down. Those of you who don't know me, you can scroll down and you'll meet your instructor, Phil. Yours truly. I'm extremely passionate about this stuff because I've seen the PMP exam change my life. I have seen the PMP exam change firms I have worked with and for. And that's why I'm really passionate about this stuff. You know, anything that relates to managing processes, procedures, I'm extremely passionate about it. And I believe that they can change how organizations function. And it does affect the bottom line more than anything else. Ad hoc isn't good. Have structure, and if you need to go ad hoc from time to time, workarounds, you know, those of you who've hit chapter 11 in the PMBOK guide, you know what I'm talking about, workarounds. Workarounds is more or less ad hoc, thinking on your feet. What is a workaround? It's a response to a risk that was not previously identified, or it's a response to a risk for which a previous response was not effective. You would have had to read chapter 11 in the PMBOK guide to know that. So, folks, I want to encourage you, pmanonymous.com. That is where you want to be. That is where you want to go to register for 6th edition exam training. Don't go anywhere else. I need you. I want you to come to the class. I want you to come with your A game. I want you to come with scenarios and real world situations. And we're going to take all these real world situations and we're going to marry them to the world of the PMI. That's what we're going to do. And for those of you who don't know about Savage on Saturday, we've got a group and it's free. Just go to savageonsaturday.com. and sign up if you do want to continue project management, training and coaching. And the group is free. And every Saturday we crack the books open, we hit it hard, and we try to demystify parts of the PMBOK guide. So I want to encourage you, if you haven't joined the group, it's called Savage on Saturday because you got to be savage. You got to wake up early. You got to hit the books. And that's the way it's done. You know, a lot of people say, this exam is too hard. I don't think I'm going to be able to do it. I want to tune out. I want to tone out. I don't want to do it anymore. And a lot of people drop off the bus, even after spending a lot of money. It's really unfortunate. A lot of people hop off the bus after spending so much money. But I want to encourage you folks. You can absolutely do it. Don't hop off the bus. Stay on the bus. Go to savageonsaturday.com. After you've signed up for the course, that is. Don't go there except you signed up for the course. I'm hoping you sign up. I'm hoping you come aboard. All right. Well, that was that for integration management. Does integration management make sense to you? I hope it does. I hope integration is making sense. Just remember my cake analogy. All right. We're moving on to scope management. Scope. What is my analogy for scope? Can anyone guess what my analogy for scope is? My analogy for scope is like one of these. Hang on a second. Let me take these off. It's like one of these. In order to see the project clearly, you need to have your glasses on. Or things get out of focus. They're blurred vision. You don't want that. Something else, you know, that's really cool. It's a telescope. That's another analogy. A telescope helps you to see really close, doesn't it? You want to see that scope. You want to know that scope. So I've given you two analogies, cake and glasses. Just remember my funny stories and analogies. You'll be knowing the knowledge areas in no time. So in scope management, the first thing we do, and just like in many other areas, the first thing we do is we want to develop a plan for how to manage scope. So that's like the very first thing we do. We develop this plan for how to manage scope, and it's called a scope management plan. So take a look at the screen. I'm going to show you how this is broken down into a bunch of processes. So for scope management, it starts off, like I said, with the development of the scope management plan. So we've got plan scope management, the process. We put together a plan for how to manage scope. At the same time, we put together a plan for how to manage requirements. So we've got something called a requirements management plan as well from this process. That's right, two plans. And then we've got collect requirements, where we actually collect the requirements for the project. Makes sense, right? Then we've got something called define scope. Remember, I told you not to sweat the small stuff. Define scope. This is where we put together a document that tells us in detail about the inclusions and the exclusions. What is included in the project, what is not included in the project. Exclusions, inclusions, and also details concerning constraints and assumptions. There is something called an assumptions log, which has some high-level detail, but the scope statement could go into even more detail regarding those things. So in define scope, we create a project scope statement. It's a name that a lot of people haven't heard about. That's right. Project scope statement. After the project scope statement, the next thing we do is we create a work breakdown structure. It's called a WBS. As you can see from the icon, it's a tree structure. It looks like a family tree. And all it does is it breaks down the family of work. So you've got the head, which is the project, and then it's broken down into another level, which breaks the work down into smaller pieces until we get to the bottom. That's really how this one rolls. And then we've got something called validate scope. Now, validate scope and create WBS, they follow each other in the PMBOK guide, but there's a big jump. There's a lot of stuff that happens. And hey, if you haven't watched my video, which is called PMBOK Guide Mainline, you might want to do that. My PMBOK Guide Mainline video will help you put all this stuff in context. You'll see how it all fits together. And yes, it was written based on the 5th, but a lot of that stuff, I believe just one process has been renamed, and that is managed quality. Managed quality used to be called perform quality assurance. So if you really want to get ahead in your studying for the PMP exam based on the 6th edition, I would highly advise you to go check out that video. It's called, again, PMBOK Mainline. Just Google it, PMBOK Mainline. It's going to come up. You just make a note and check it out when we're done. Alright. So moving along here, we're going to our next process after validate scope. Well, I didn't tell you what happens in validate scope. I just said a lot of stuff happens in between create WBS and validate scope. So the reason why we do plan scope management, collect requirements, define scope, and create WBS, as you might have guessed, is to plan the details surrounding scope, you see. And after we've done that, the next step is to actually begin to carry out project work in other processes. But after all that is done, there is a process known as validate scope, where your customer checks the deliverable and decides, is that good? Is that what I asked for? Does that conform to what I asked for? And that really is what happens in validate scope. After validate scope, the next process is called control scope. And control scope is where we prevent the scope from going off track. This is where we prevent something called scope creep. And we also prevent something called gold plating. So we're quite intentional as project managers here to ensure that people aren't gold plating and there's no scope creeping and people are behaving themselves. So that's what happens in scope management. And in the class, you can be rest assured we're actually going to be covering in a lot of detail all the stuff that happens. We're going to be taking a look at examples of these things. So in the book that I just showed you, the Time Machine Project, I have examples, lots of examples of all of these things. I have examples of work breakdown structures, examples of WBSs, matrix diagrams. Let me see if I can show you a couple of them here. Cool thing is they actually have some data in them as well. So, well, there's a team performance assessment for you, if you can see that. It's a team performance assessment on that page. See? Let's see what else. A change request. You ever seen a change request form with all that detail? Typically, people just pick up the phone and yell, I want it. Do it. I've actually got lots of examples for you of many of these things across different projects. So that's scope. We're going to move into our next area here. Our next area is called schedule management. And schedule management, I've got an analogy for you for schedule. It's this. The time, of course. Time management, they used to call it. So if you've got a watch or a clock, it's a good reminder. Chapter 6 in the PMBOK guide. So what do we do in time management? In a nutshell, we build a schedule and we make sure the team is marching to the schedule. That's what we do. Build a schedule, march to the schedule. Build, march, build, march. And if anyone's going off schedule or off track, taking longer than they should have, we find out why and we try to get them back in alignment. And that's really what happened in schedule management. So let me run through this. There used to be 7 processes here. Thank goodness they're now just 6. But guess what? The other areas that was 6 are now 7. Integration was 6, it's now 7. Risk was 6, it's now 7. Don't worry, I got you covered. We're going to do this thing, all right? So take a look here, schedule management. First thing, as usual, we plan schedule management. We put together a plan for how to manage the schedule. The next thing that we do after this is to actually define the different tasks. It's like a task list. And then after the task list and all that stuff is done, we sequence the activities, put the activities in order. We put some dependencies. We call these dependencies. Finish to start, start to start, finish to finish. You know all this stuff. I'm guessing you might have used them in MS Project or Primavera, and if not, I'll explain them to you during the course. Quite straightforward. And then we estimate the durations based on what we know about the resources, and then boom, we've got our schedule. We put that thing together in Project or Primavera or Plan View or Clearview or Smart Sheets or whatever it is, and then we start controlling the schedule. So that's really what we do in schedule management. It's not that difficult, is it? What makes people cry about this area is something called network diagrams. That comes up under the critical path. We're going to talk about that when you come for the course. But don't worry, I got you covered. I got you covered. Your friend Phil actually has one of PMI certifications called a PMISP, Project Management Institute Scheduling Professional. I love my scheduling. I don't play around with it because that's where I got my big break. I met my mentor, Mary Hirschner, who introduced me to the world of the PMI while I was doing a lot of heavy schedules for a government project back in 2004. If not for Mary, I wouldn't be where I am today. If not for Microsoft Project, I wouldn't have met Mary. That's why I love Project. I know there's a bittersweet relationship with MS Project for many people, but I will always remember what MS Project did. It opened the doors of the PMI, because without Project, I wouldn't have been in that firm. I tell you, I wouldn't have been in that firm. Let's move on. Let's talk about cost management. As usual, the first thing you do is plan. How do we manage cost? And then you estimate how much each line item is going to cost. How much will each task cost? And then you can roll that up into a total amount. How much will the electrical cost? How much will the plumbing cost? How much will this and that cost? Roll them up into a final total. And that's what we do in determined budget. In determined budget, we roll all of these estimates up into a final total amount. And we want to tell management, hey, this is what the project is going to cost in total. And also, periodically, it is going to cost this amount of money every quarter or every month. It's very important that you give management clear ideas about what you will be spending across each time period. We call that the cost baseline or the cost performance baseline. Next thing here is control cost. Controlling the cost. Making sure that people aren't going over budget, people aren't getting overexcited. So let me know. So, Finale, are you taking the 5th edition exam or the 6th edition exam? Which exam are you taking? I'm curious to know. You taking the 5th edition, or are you a PMP already? Let me know. Chat it in. So going back to quality, quality is all about fitness for use, conformance to requirements. And I was saying use the analogy of the magnifying glass. And the first thing we do in quality management is we identify the quality standards that need to be adhered to. That is the first thing we do. And then the second thing that we do, and let me just show you the PowerPoint so that you can see conveniently. The next thing we do is called manage quality. And I actually open up the PMBOK guide for you, just for you to get an idea of what manage quality is all about. And managed quality is really all about, I would say, doing your assurance. It's more like a quality assurance of sorts. It's not called quality assurance anymore. As you can see on the screen here, it's now called managed quality. But it's really more of checking the process, making sure that people are following the process, so on and so forth. Very good. So, Finale, shoot me that email, because I'm going to give you a reward for your help in letting me know that the audio went crazy. So thank you very much. So managed quality is more like quality assurance, but PMI call it managed quality now. And I actually opened the book. I opened up the PMBOK guide. That's another piece people missed. I opened up the PMBOK guide and I read a particular page in the PMBOK guide. I read a page on managed quality, and I just want to make sure I do that again, just to make it a complete presentation for you. You see, the difference between managed quality and quality control or control quality is quality control is all about the product, but managed quality is about the process. You know, let me read it. It's on page 288 in the 6th edition. And Thenali, don't worry, because this stuff is pretty much similar to perform quality assurance. So it says managed quality is the process of translating the quality management plan into executable quality activities that incorporate the organization's quality policies into the project. The key benefits of this process are that it increases the probability of meeting the quality objectives, as well as identifying the ineffective, here's the key word, processes and the cause of poor quality. So, manage quality, that's it, folks. You know, it's like cause and effect. You know, if you can stamp out the incidences of poor processes or poor process execution, then you stamp out the chances of having a defective product. So going back to our slides here, if you take a look, you can see that we've got managed quality and finally control quality. Now very quickly going to resource management, the analogy is the beach. I was talking about how the beach has shells and it has sand, and lovely sand, that is. It also has people on it. So resources, you know, think about resources. Resources, human, equipment, material, supplies, and facilities is really what we manage here in resource management. So in resource management, we plan how to manage our resources. We estimate our human, equipment, material, and supplies. We also acquire the resources. Then we train the team, we develop them, they go through team building, and then we lead them to excellence. And lastly, we control our physical resources, not our humans. Okay? So very quickly again, communications management. What do we do here? We plan how we're going to communicate, what we're going to communicate, why and when. And my analogy for this is actually, believe it or not, a cell phone. The likes of Mr. Cook's device. Are you using a Mr. Cook device or are you using a Billy device? Well, very few people use those Billy devices these days. I bet Mr. Cook's gonna win on that one. So anyway, plan communication management, that's where we plan what are we going to communicate, why, when, and then we communicate. We call that managed communications. That's when you're actually sending out the communications. And then we monitor communications. We monitor to make sure it's going according to plan. Finale, who saved the day, says, Phil, though I didn't take any of your paid courses, I have already watched almost all of your YouTube videos, which gave me all the strength and motivation to do the PMP. I am so delighted to hear that, Thenali Rahman, and like I said, you are going to get a free seat in our PMP exam course for the 5th edition, and you're going to be able to access all of the video modules, all of the content, all of the audio, because what you did for me tonight is a huge deal. A lot of people, they couldn't care less. Oh yeah, we can't hear whatever he's saying. What a clown. That's what people would say. What a clown. That Phil must be a clown. He's talking to himself. But you actually took the time and the effort and the energy to do that. So I'm going to send you the whole kit and caboodle. I'm going to make sure you are on the system. I'm going to make sure you get a PDF copy of the book. I'm going to make sure you get the crazy audio. That's right, 18 hours of audio. Just like we're going to put together audio for this book, we actually have audio for the 5th edition. And it's 18 hours long, 18 hours of audio. So we're going to get that to you. And hopefully you're going to enjoy the course when you come for the paid course. You think the YouTube stuff is good, you wait till you see the live stuff or the paid stuff. It's a lot beefed up because, you know, you can only put so much on YouTube. You know, YouTube is video. You don't have the interactivity of the buttons and the clicking and the questions and all that stuff. And that's part of what folks on this course are going to get, you know. Before I was rudely thrown off audio-wise, I was trying to explain to folks that they need to go to pmanonymous.com, because all of this stuff I'm talking about, we're going to dive deep into it. So go to pmanonymous.com. It says sign up now for a sweet steal. It really is a sweet steal. And actually, Thanali is going to get a crazy reward for letting me know, you know, about this audio technical issue that we had earlier. And I really appreciate that, because time is money, and, you know, I could have spent another 1 hour, 2 hours. So that's the price of my time. I'm going to reward him for that, or her for that. So I really appreciate that. But anyway, those of you who want to sign up for the 6th edition, do it now, folks. The class is going to start on the 24th of February, as you can see here on the screen. Don't wait. Go down the page. You know, go past the meet your instructor that you're going to see. Go all the way down and click on that button that says sign up now. You want to sign up now, because once the offer is gone, that is it. It is gone, and you're going to be looking at similar courses for $1,250. So do it now. $499.99 is even less than the exam. So what point is there going for an exam if you're not beefed up for it? All right, so you have to be beefed up for it. So thank you, Thanali. At the same time, please email us at that address, just in case I'm not able to catch the chat. So we're going to sign you up for the course. You're going to have access to what date is your exam? Let me know what date your exam is, and we'll give you some support and some help for you to ace the exam. Okay. So I hope you can still hear me okay. Just let me know what day you're taking that exam. We'll give you support all the way. All right, so let's go back. We're almost done here. Can you imagine? We're almost done talking about all of the processes in the PMBOK guide in this casual setting. All right, so moving on here. Beyond communications, we move into risk management. And risk management is one of those areas where you can expect a ton of questions on the exam. So my analogy for risk management is a dice. That's right. So you throw the dice, and what happens? You got a 1 in 6 chance of getting something, anything. Well, your project also has a chance of success or failure. You know, it has a chance of all sorts of events going wrong within the project itself. And that's why we first of all want to plan. You know, we want to plan how are we going to manage risks. And after you've planned how to manage risks, you then begin to identify the risk. You then begin to, one by one, take a look at the risks and say, oh, this could happen, but there is a 20% chance it could happen. This could happen, there's a 60% chance. And the impact, if it does happen on a scale of whatever it is going to be, scale of 1 to 100, it's going to be 90, for example. So identify risks is the beginning of this. This is where you just identify the risks, but it's when you get into perform qualitative risk analysis that you actually begin to put numbers, qualitatively analyze the risk on scales and so on. And then when you go into quantitative, you then make it numeric in the sense of currency or resource effort and things such as that. After you've analyzed the risks, the next thing is to plan responses for those risks. How are we going to respond to the risks? Then the next thing that happens is we implement the responses that we plan. That happens in executing. Don't just plan how to respond to the risks, actually do respond to the risks. And then last but not least, we monitor the risks. Okay? So that's risk management. My analogy again is dice. All right, we're on to procurement management. Procurement is all about what do we need to purchase from an external source? That's the question. Can we make everything ourselves, or do we need to get some help? Do we need to get some resources? Do we need to get some materials from somewhere else? So whatever needs to be procured needs to be planned. It's called planned procurement management. After you plan what to procure, then you actually conduct procurements by selecting sellers. But before you select the sellers, in conduct procurement, you also are going to have to review the proposals. So you review proposals. After you've reviewed proposals and selected a seller and awarded a contract, the next thing you do is you begin to manage the contract. We call that control procurement. All right, and after you have managed the procurement, that's it. You close it, but you close it in the close project or phase process. So control procurement is really where you do your final rounding up of all of those contracts, and ultimately all of that information is going to be funneled into the overall closure. The overall closure of the project is going to consider how everything went across the different knowledge areas, across all of the processes, and you're going to have the big closed project or phase at the end. Now, Thanali, you're reading the PMBOK Guide 5th edition, so the way it is in the 5th edition is different. In the 5th edition, there's one more process that is known as closed procurement, but not here. Not here. We don't have closed procurements. The closure takes place in this process known as control procurement. So this is where the procurements get closed, but ultimately there's going to be the grand closure at the end of the project. So in control procurement, as PMI states, this is where you manage the procurement relationship. This is where you make any changes, and at the same time, this is where you close out the contract, and ultimately all of this stuff that you're closing out in the different controlling processes is going into the grand finale closure of the project. So if you catch something at the end, it needs to be put right. If it's not too late, you can make that adjustment and put it right. But this process, control procurement, is the final process in procurement management, which would be rather interesting for anyone who read the 5th edition, because they'd be looking for the closed procurements. It's been rolled into control procurements, and any remnants taken care of in close project or phase. All right, so that's it for procurement. And what is my analogy for procurement management? Can you guess? My analogy for procurement management is a shopping cart. Shopping cart analogy. You know those shopping carts you see online when you're purchasing stuff? Just think of one of those, or a real life shopping cart. We got one more knowledge area. It's called stakeholder management. And the very first thing we're going to do is identify our stakeholders. Who could the project affect? Who could affect the project? Different people could affect your project. For example, think about a software installation or software refresh project. The CTO of the firm, that's a stakeholder. He could influence the outcome. He could influence it in a good or bad way. That's a stakeholder. What about the end user who's concerned that their job is going to go away as a result of this fancy new software that you are installing? Well, they're stakeholders as well. All right, so we want to identify all those people, manage their interest, manage their concerns. Then we want to plan how to engage them on the project. We could engage them in different ways. We could engage them in the identification of risks. We could engage them in the definition of what needs to be done. We could engage them by having a conversation on how well things are proceeding. Next thing here is called manage stakeholder engagement. And this is where we manage our stakeholders' engagement by actually engaging them and making sure they're focused on what they need to be. And then after we've managed stakeholder engagement, last but not least, we call this monitor stakeholder engagement. So Denali, I know lots of this stuff is going to be a lot different from what you are used to seeing in the world of the 5th edition. But it's not so different, so much different that you'd be lost. Just tiny little changes in phrases here and there. So folks, that is it for all of the processes. We just covered every process in the PMBOK guide. Can you believe it? Every single one. So go to pmanonymous.com if you're looking to take a course that will dive into all of this stuff in a lot more detail, covering the grimy ITTOs. If you want a course that will help you knock out those ITTOs, just like the course Denali is going to be on in a few hours, you want to go to pmanonymous.com, folks. Okay? pmanonymous.com. That is where you want to go, and you want to sign up for the PMBOK Guide 6th edition training. Highly advise it, because once Sunday comes, there is a probability, speaking of risk management, that course could go up 3 times the amount on Monday. Don't let that happen, folks. I said could. But it's not going to be so drastic. It's going to increase, and it's going to keep increasing till it gets around there. So you want to do what you have to do now. Make sure you sign up so you can learn about the Time Machine Project, my book about the crazy professor that built a time machine. But it's all done in project management. It's all done in fun. So you are in great hands as far as fun is concerned. Okay? You have an instructor who's been there, done that. I've managed projects across different industries, being a project controller, being a project manager, being a program manager in various industries, worked in healthcare, engineering, IT, you name it, even gaming. Some of you are WoW fanatics. I feel your pain when you have to study the PMBOK guide and you can't play WoW, or your friends at EA are missing you. I understand. That used to be the story of my life. So folks, that is it for tonight. If you are in the US watching, you should be asleep. If you are in Europe, Middle East, Asia Pacific, what are you waiting for? Go to PM Anonymous. I'm going to show you one more time so you can see it completely behind me. pmanonymous.com. All right? Go there. Sign up for the course, folks. This is as good or as best as it is going to get, because there's going to be lots of courses being rolled out, right, that are pretty standard, but they're going to be very expensive when they do come out. And there's going to be lots of courses where you can study on your own, but you actually want a live instructor. You want your friend Phil. All right. So with that, I am going to sign off, and I'm going to wish you a wonderful rest of the day. And I'm going to leave you with some of my music, because you know that that's where I started managing projects. I started managing recording projects. I was a music producer. And the music you're hearing in the background, the music you've been hearing in the background, that's music I put together, folks, in the studio many, many years ago, that is. So I'm going to leave you with one of my tracks playing out. But before I go, let me just go over my analogies. Integration, the cake, scope, glasses or telescope, schedule, the watch. Don't forget the watch for schedule. Don't forget the dollar, the yen, the rupees, whatever it is for the cost. Quality, magnifying glass. Resources, the beach, the sand, the lovely sea, the lovely people on the beach. Communication, the telephone. risk, dice, procurement, the shopping cart, and I didn't tell you about stakeholders. This is hilarious. Steak in a plate. Why steak in a plate? Because the stakeholders need your project to be delicious. They ain't gonna eat it if it's a rubbery piece of steak. You better make it a good steak. Alrighty, well that's it for tonight. Again, thank you to my friend Thanali and anyone else who happened to hop by. I know you guys are meant to be at work in a lot of these other time zones, but those of you who were able to stop by and listen in, I appreciate you. Those of you getting ready to slay the 5th edition, don't forget, sign up for Savage on Saturday.com. Go there and sign up, because this weekend it's actually going to be done on a different platform. Okay, so thank you very much. I appreciate you so much, and I look forward to seeing you probably in one of the Savage on Saturdays. Denali, I hope you're able to sign up for Savage on Saturday in addition to everything else you're going to be finding from Praizion, because in the next few minutes I am going to be assigning you to the learning management system, where I'm sure you're going to have a lot of fun. And those people coming on board for the 6th edition, they're also going to have a ton of fun. So thank you very much. Have a lovely rest of your day. And remember, visit pmanonymous.com. Bye for now.
You get right under my skin. It's a battle with the devil within.